Some names in farming just worked the fields. But one brand turned agriculture into a global revolution, built on red iron, hydraulic innovation, and a century of refusing to quit. From blacksmith shops in Ontario to fields on every continent, this is the story of how Massey Ferguson became the backbone of modern farming. This is the entire history of Massey Ferguson. Chapter 1. The Blacksmith's Vision. Long before diesel engines rumbled across American wheat fields, before hydraulic systems made plowing effortless, there was a man with a hammer and a vision. His name was Daniel Massey, and in 1847, in a small workshop in Newcastle, Ontario, he began manufacturing agricultural implements that would change the way North America fed itself. The timing couldn't have been better. The frontier was expanding westward, settlements were spreading across virgin prairie, and farmers desperately needed equipment that could survive brutal seasons without breaking down every other week. Massey understood something fundamental about farming that most manufacturers missed. Reliability mattered more than innovation. A farmer could forgive a machine that wasn't fancy, but they'd never forgive one that quit during harvest. So Massey built threshers, mowers, and reapers like iron fortresses, designed to outlast the men who operated them and the weather that tried to destroy them. His early machines weren't elegant, but they were honest, built from heavy castings and simple mechanisms that any farmer could maintain with basic tools and common sense. Within a decade, the Massey Manufacturing Company had earned something money couldn't buy: trust. Across Canadian farmland, from Ontario to the Western Territories, farmers began asking for Massey equipment by name, not because it was revolutionary, but because it showed up when ordered and kept working, when everything else failed. By the 1860s, that reputation had spread beyond Canada's borders, reaching into the northern United States, where word of mouth traveled faster than any advertisement. This wasn't just the beginning of a business. It was the foundation of a philosophy that would define agricultural manufacturing for the next 170 years. Build machines that become partners in the endless war against weather, soil, and time. Daniel Massey never saw himself as an inventor or a visionary. He was a builder who understood that farmers needed tools they could depend on, tools that would start every morning and finish every job, tools that wouldn't leave families watching their crops rot because some complicated mechanism failed at the worst possible moment. That simple, powerful idea that a machine should be as reliable as the sunrise became the soul of everything that followed. Chapter 2. The Birth of a Giant. By 1891, Massey Manufacturing had outgrown its regional roots, but the agricultural equipment industry was becoming a battlefield of consolidation and competition. Survival meant scale, and scale meant merger. That year, Massey joined forces with A. Harris, Son and Company, another Ontario manufacturer with its own strong reputation, creating Massey Harris Limited. This wasn't just a business deal sketched out in boardrooms. It was the birth of Canada's first true agricultural titan, a company with production capacity that dwarfed competitors and a distribution network stretching from Atlantic ports to the newly settled prairies of Western Canada and deep into America's heartland. The combined entity controlled vast manufacturing facilities, employed thousands of workers, and shipped equipment to farming communities that depended on mechanization for their very survival. Massey Harris became more than a brand. It became a presence, a name farmers recognized, even if they'd never owned one of the machines, a symbol of industrial strength applied to agricultural necessity. Their self-propelled combines and grain binders arrived in remote towns like Mechanical Salvation, replacing back-breaking hand labor with steam power and precision engineering. The company's massive facility in Brantford, Ontario, transformed into one of the largest agricultural equipment plants in the world, running shifts around the clock to meet demand that seemed limitless as North America's agricultural economy exploded. But the real brilliance of Massey Harris wasn't just size or output, it was adaptation. They studied regional farming practices with scientific precision, understanding that wheat farmers in Manitoba had different needs than corn growers in Iowa, that cotton operations in the South required different solutions than dairy farms in Wisconsin. So they built specialized equipment for each market, creating machines tailored to soil conditions, crop types, and climate challenges that varied across thousands of miles. By the early 1900s, Massey Harris had achieved something remarkable. They weren't just selling machines. They were defining what modern farming looked like across 2 continents. Their bright red equipment became as common in American fields as it was in Canadian ones, and farmers who'd never met each other shared stories about the reliability of their Massey Harris threshers and the precision of their grain binders. This was industrial agriculture, finding its voice, and Massey Harris was writing the script that everyone else would follow. Chapter 3: Ferguson's Revolution. While Massey Harris dominated North American manufacturing, an Irish engineer named Harry Ferguson was working in quiet obscurity on an invention that would eventually revolutionize everything about how tractors worked. In 1933, Ferguson patented the 3-point hitch system, a hydraulic linkage mechanism that fundamentally reimagined the relationship between tractor and implement. Before Ferguson, implements were simply dragged behind tractors using drawbar hitches, creating dangerous instability, wasting power, and making precision work nearly impossible. Ferguson's system was different. It integrated the implement into the tractor itself, using hydraulic draft control to automatically adjust working depth based on soil resistance, transferring weight dynamically to improve traction, and eliminating the deadly rear flip accidents that killed dozens of farmers every year when drawbar hitches caught on stumps or rocks. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a complete reimagining of what a tractor could be. Ferguson demonstrated his invention with theatrical flair, plowing straight up hillsides that would flip conventional tractors backward, showing skeptical farmers that the future wasn't about bigger engines. It was about smarter engineering that worked with physics instead of fighting it. His little gray Ferguson tractors looked almost toy-like compared to the massive machines American manufacturers were building. But they could handle implements designed for tractors twice their size because the 3-point hitch made every ounce of weight work efficiently. The system made tractors safer, more precise, and more versatile. A farmer could change implements in minutes instead of hours, adjust working depth without dismounting, and tackle jobs that previously required multiple machines with different capabilities. Ferguson's hydraulic draft control was particularly revolutionary, sensing resistance automatically and lifting or lowering the implement to maintain consistent depth, whether crossing soft bottomland or rocky hillsides, giving farmers precision they'd never experienced before. By the late 1930s, Ferguson had partnered with David Brown in England to manufacture tractors, but his ambition reached far beyond British fields. He wanted American production, American scale, and American distribution to bring his technology to the world's largest agricultural market. That partnership would eventually come, though Ferguson himself couldn't have predicted it would one day merge with the Massey Empire, creating something neither company could have built alone. Chapter 4: War and the Proving Ground. When war exploded across Europe in 1939, agricultural manufacturing transformed overnight from peacetime production to wartime emergency operations. Massey Harris factories retooled to build tanks, aircraft components, and military vehicles, while simultaneously increasing tractor production to feed Allied armies and civilian populations facing unprecedented food demands. Farms across North America suddenly faced critical labor shortages as men enlisted by the millions, leaving behind operations that couldn't stop just because workers had gone to war. Tractors became more than farm equipment. They became essential weapons in the fight to maintain food production with skeleton crews, often operated by women, teenagers, and older farmers who thought their working days were behind them. Massey Harris tractors ran around the clock, pulling plows at dawn, powering threshers at midday, and hauling grain wagons by moonlight, pushed to limits that would have destroyed lesser machines. Models like the Massey Harris 101 Jr. and Model 81 became the quiet heroes of the home front, simple enough to maintain with limited parts availability, but tough enough to survive seasons of abuse that would have broken peacetime equipment. These machines weren't designed for comfort or efficiency. They were designed to not quit, to keep running when failure meant empty grain elevators and rationed food. Meanwhile, Ferguson's hydraulic innovations caught military attention for applications beyond agriculture, proving their worth in harsh conditions that tested every component to destruction. The war years became the ultimate proving ground for agricultural machinery, where failures had consequences measured in hunger and defeat. Massey Harris and Ferguson equipment didn't just pass this brutal test, they excelled. demonstrating that agricultural machinery had evolved from simple farm tools into genuine industrial powerhouses capable of performing under conditions their designers never imagined. When peace finally arrived in 1945, both companies emerged with reputations forged under fire, having proven their worth when it mattered most, and the post-war farming boom was about to create demand that would dwarf anything either manufacturer had seen before. Chapter 5. The Post-War Powerhouse. 1947 marked a turning point for Massey Harris, as the company released what would become one of the most beloved tractors in agricultural history, the Model 44. This machine arrived at exactly the right moment in American history, when returning veterans were starting farms with government assistance, when hybrid seeds and modern farming techniques were revolutionizing yields, and when farmers finally had capital to invest after years of depression and wartime sacrifice. The 44 was rated at roughly 38 horsepower from its 260 cubic inch four-cylinder engine, but raw numbers didn't tell the whole story. This tractor pulled like something much larger thanks to excellent weight distribution, well-designed gearing, and a transmission that gave operators the right ratio for almost any job. Farmers loved its simplicity and honesty. The engine was straightforward enough that most owners could rebuild it in their own workshops with basic tools and patience, and parts were readily available through Massey Harris's extensive dealer network that stretched across North America like a safety net. The 44 came in both standard tread and row crop configurations, making it versatile enough for wheat operations and corn farming alike, adaptable to different field conditions and farming styles, without requiring complete redesigns. Its distinctive styling, with a long hood and relatively high operator position, gave it a commanding presence that farmers appreciated, not for show, but because visibility mattered when working near fences, ditches, and standing crops. More than anything else, the 44 represented reliability that farmers could stake their livelihoods on. These tractors survived decades of punishing work, passed from fathers to sons, working through generations without complaint or failure. Many are still running today, lovingly restored by collectors who remember their grandfather's stories about the red Massey Harris that started on cold January mornings when everything else quit, that pulled through mud that stopped bigger tractors, that never left a harvest unfinished or a family wondering if they'd make it through the season. The Model 44 wasn't revolutionary or innovative in any dramatic way. It was something better. It was exactly what farmers needed when they needed it most, a dependable workhorse that showed up every single day. Chapter 6. Ferguson's American Dream. While Massey Harris built its reputation on power and scale, Harry Ferguson's engineering genius was conquering the world through a much smaller machine, the Ferguson TE-20, produced in England starting in 1946 and later in Detroit as the TO-20, became the little tractor that proved innovation mattered more than size. With only about 24 horsepower from its small four-cylinder engine, the TE-20 looked almost comical next to big American tractors, like a child's toy parked beside working machines. But Ferguson's three-point hitch system made this compact tractor punch far above its weight class, handling implements designed for machines twice its size, while using half the fuel and requiring minimal maintenance. Farmers discovered that horsepower ratings didn't tell the whole story. What mattered was how efficiently that power reached the ground, and Ferguson's hydraulic system made every ounce count. The TE-20's success in post-war Britain was phenomenal, arriving exactly when the nation desperately needed to increase food production with limited resources, damaged infrastructure, and fuel rationing that made efficiency a matter of national survival. Ferguson's little tractor helped revitalize British agriculture, proving that smart engineering could overcome resource constraints and economic hardship. When production began in Detroit in 1948, American farmers slowly warmed to the design, particularly in regions where smaller fields, diverse crops, and specialty farming made giant tractors impractical and economically wasteful. By the early 1950s, Ferguson tractors were selling worldwide, with production facilities in Britain and America, licensing agreements spreading the technology to Australia and beyond, and a growing reputation that challenged conventional wisdom about what tractors should be. The TE-20 proved something revolutionary, that bigger wasn't automatically better, that innovation could beat brute force, and that Harry Ferguson's vision of lightweight, efficient, hydraulically controlled farming represented the future, whether traditional manufacturers wanted to admit it or not. Chapter 7. The Merger That Shook Agriculture. On August 12, 1953, two agricultural giants with completely different philosophies became one company when Massey Harris and Harry Ferguson Limited merged to create Massey Harris Ferguson, later simplified to Massey Ferguson. This wasn't just corporate consolidation between competitors. It was the fusion of North American manufacturing muscle with European technological brilliance, of conventional power with revolutionary hydraulics, of two opposing visions about what tractors should be and how farming should work. The merger made immediate financial sense, eliminating redundant dealer networks, combining massive production capacity, and creating distribution that reached every significant agricultural region on Earth. But the real genius went deeper than balance sheets and cost savings. Massey brought large, powerful tractors perfectly suited to big American and Canadian operations where scale and strength mattered most. Ferguson contributed compact, efficient designs ideal for smaller farms, European markets, and international operations where versatility trumped raw power. Together, they could offer farmers everything from small utility tractors for hobby farms and specialty operations to massive machines for industrial wheat harvesting and large-scale row crop production. The new company retained the best elements of both brands, combining Massey's legendary robust construction with Ferguson's hydraulic innovation, creating tractors that were simultaneously powerful and precise, strong and efficient. The iconic red and gray color scheme emerged from this union, blending Massey's traditional bright red with Ferguson's practical gray, a visual symbol of two legacies merging into something new. Not everyone celebrated the change. Some dealers and longtime customers resisted fiercely, loyal to one name or the other, suspicious that the merger would dilute what made their preferred brand special. But practical farmers quickly recognized that Massey Ferguson offered the most complete, versatile lineup of agricultural equipment available anywhere in the world. The merged company immediately became one of the world's three largest tractor manufacturers, alongside International Harvester and John Deere, with global reach, technological depth, and product diversity that neither Massey nor Ferguson could have achieved independently. This was more than a business deal. It was the creation of an agricultural superpower. Chapter 8. The legendary 35. In 1957, Massey Ferguson introduced a tractor that would define the brand for an entire generation and become one of the most successful agricultural machines ever built, the MF-35. Building on Ferguson's TU-30 design, but refined with Massey's manufacturing excellence and global production capability, the 35 became the ultimate workhorse for small to medium farms worldwide. With approximately 37 horsepower from its Perkins 3-cylinder diesel engine in most markets or Continental gasoline engines in North America, the 35 delivered Ferguson system precision in a package tough enough for decades of serious work. Farmers loved its legendary fuel efficiency. The Perkins diesel sipped fuel compared to gasoline competitors, saving money on every hour of operation. And its legendary reliability meant fewer repairs, less downtime, and service life measured in decades rather than years. The 35's compact size made it perfect for dairy operations, where maneuverability mattered, for vegetable farming requiring precision, and for European agriculture, where smaller fields and versatile equipment were more valuable than specialized giants. But it was also genuinely tough enough for light draft work, hay operations, and general farm duties that would overwhelm lesser machines or break equipment designed only for light tasks. The three-point hitch geometry was perfected by this generation, giving implement control that larger, more expensive tractors couldn't match. And the independent power takeoff meant implements kept running smoothly, even when the tractor stopped moving. Production numbers were absolutely staggering. Over 500,000 MF-35s rolled off production lines in England, France, and America before production finally ended in the mid-60s, making it one of the best-selling tractors in history. These machines spread to literally every continent, working rice paddies in Asia, coffee plantations in South America, cattle stations in Australia, and family farms across North America and Europe, proving that good design transcends borders, climates, and farming traditions. Today, the MF-35 remains one of the most sought-after vintage tractors, valued not just for nostalgia or collector appeal, but because they're still genuinely useful machines that refuse to quit working, that start reliably, pull strongly, and survive conditions that destroy modern equipment. with complex electronics and fragile components. Chapter 9. Conquering the World. While American manufacturers focused primarily on domestic markets, content to dominate their home territory, Massey Ferguson recognized something competitors missed. The future of agriculture was global, not regional. Through the 1950s and 60s, the company aggressively expanded manufacturing and distribution to markets that competitors barely acknowledged or considered too risky, too different, or too small to matter. Factories opened in France, Germany, Italy, Brazil, Argentina, India, and South Africa, each producing tractors specifically tailored to regional needs, preferences, and farming conditions. In developing nations across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, Massey Ferguson tractors became powerful symbols of modernization, replacing animal power and backbreaking hand labor with mechanical efficiency that dramatically increased food production, improved living standards, and transformed entire economies. The company's willingness to adapt designs for local conditions gave them competitive advantages that Detroit-focused manufacturers couldn't match. They built lighter tractors for wet Asian rice paddies, where heavy machines sank uselessly into mud. They engineered more rugged machines for African soil conditions that destroyed equipment designed for gentle American farmland. They created heat-resistant models for Middle Eastern climates, where temperatures and dust destroyed conventional engines. Massey Ferguson didn't just export American-designed tractors with minor modifications. They listened to farmers in different countries, studied local farming practices, and built machines that solved real problems in specific conditions. This approach created fierce brand loyalty in markets where farming traditions, crop types, and field conditions were completely different from North American agriculture. By the mid-60s, Massey Ferguson had become the world's largest agricultural equipment manufacturer, selling more tractors globally than any competitor. With presence in markets competitors hadn't even entered. Their red machines worked fields on every inhabited continent, speaking dozens of languages, adapted to hundreds of different crops, surviving climates from Arctic tundra to equatorial rainforest. This wasn't just business success. It was agricultural colonization of the best kind, bringing technology and efficiency to farmers everywhere without requiring them to abandon their traditions or adopt foreign farming methods wholesale. Chapter 10. The Superpower Era. As the 1960s progressed, farming itself was changing rapidly. Fields were getting larger as small farms consolidated. Implements were getting heavier as technology advanced. Farmers demanded more power, more capacity, and more capability to handle workloads that would have seemed impossible just a decade earlier. Massey Ferguson responded with tractors that pushed power ratings into territory previously reserved for industrial equipment. Models like the MF-135 and MF-165 brought serious horsepower to mid-size operations, while the legendary MF-180 delivered roughly 87 horsepower from its Perkins six-cylinder diesel engine, displacing 354 cubic inches, making it a genuine powerhouse for its era. But the real statement came with tractors like the MF-105 and MF-135, machines that brought three-digit horsepower to farms for the first time, breaking the psychological barrier that had limited tractor design for decades. These weren't just bigger versions of existing tractors. They were completely redesigned machines built around new principles of power delivery, weight distribution, and hydraulic capacity. The MF-135, with its Perkins V8 diesel engine, could deliver over 125 horsepower to the drawbar, pulling massive plows through soil that would have stopped earlier tractors cold. Farmers who bought these machines weren't just upgrading equipment. They were fundamentally changing how they farmed, tackling bigger fields with fewer passes, pulling wider implements with better efficiency, and completing work in days that previously took weeks. The cab designs evolved too, moving from open platforms to enclosed operator stations with better visibility, improved controls, and eventually climate control that let farmers work comfortably through temperature extremes that would have been unbearable in earlier machines. Massey Ferguson's power steering systems, initially optional but quickly becoming standard, transformed operator experience from wrestling heavy steering wheels to precise, effortless control. These advances weren't just about comfort, they were about productivity and safety, letting farmers work longer hours without exhaustion, reducing accidents caused by fatigue, and making equipment accessible to operators who couldn't handle the physical demands of earlier tractors. Chapter 11. Innovation and Competition, 1970s. The 1970s brought new challenges and fierce competition as manufacturers raced to develop technologies that would define modern farming. Massey Ferguson continued pushing boundaries with innovations that set industry standards. Their advanced multi-power transmission offered 16 forward speeds and 4 reverse gears, giving operators precise control in any condition, from slow, high-torque work in heavy soil to faster transport speeds on roads. The company's sophisticated hydraulic systems evolved to handle multiple remote cylinders simultaneously, letting farmers operate complex implements with precision that earlier generations couldn't imagine. Massey Ferguson's quiet cab design set new standards for operator comfort, using sound insulation, rubber mounting, and careful engineering to reduce noise levels dramatically. But competition was intensifying from every direction. John Deere's SoundGuard cab and powerful turbocharged diesels were winning customers who valued refinement. International Harvester's legendary torque and proven durability kept their loyal following. Ford's global expansion and New Holland merger created formidable competition. Allis-Chalmers, White and Case all pushed their own innovations aggressively. Every manufacturer was fighting for market share in an industry where brand loyalty ran deep, but economic pressures forced farmers to choose carefully. Massey Ferguson responded with machines like the legendary 2800 series, tractors that combined everything the company had learned about power, efficiency, and reliability into designs that could compete anywhere. The MF 2895, with its turbocharged Perkins engine producing approximately 140 horsepower, became a favorite on large operations requiring serious pulling power and all-day durability. These tractors featured updated styling that looked modern and purposeful, improved visibility from redesigned cab positioning, and control layouts that made long days in the seat less exhausting. The 2800 series represented Massey Ferguson's philosophy perfectly, combined proven mechanical excellence with thoughtful improvements that made real differences in daily operation. The turbocharged Perkins engines delivered power smoothly across the RPM range, or revolutions per minute, providing strong lugging ability in heavy draft work without requiring constant gear changes. Farmers discovered these tractors could maintain speed and power even when pulling through difficult conditions that would bog down competitors, keeping productivity high when every hour mattered. The decade also saw Massey Ferguson expanding their specialty tractor lineup for vineyards, orchards, and hillside farming, recognizing that not every farmer needed maximum horsepower, but many needed machines adapted to unique conditions. These narrow-frame, low-profile tractors brought Massey Ferguson capability to operations competitors ignored, building loyalty in markets where specialized equipment meant the difference between success and failure. But the 70s also brought economic uncertainty that would test every manufacturer's strength and strategy, challenges that would reshape the entire agricultural equipment industry. Chapter 12: Crisis and Resilience. The 1980s arrived with brutal force, bringing agricultural crisis that threatened manufacturers and farmers alike. Grain embargoes disrupted markets. Interest rates soared to unprecedented heights, reaching 18 and even 20%, making equipment loans crushingly expensive. Farm debt exploded as land values collapsed, sometimes dropping by half in just 2 years. Equipment sales plummeted as farmers, who'd borrowed against inflated land prices, suddenly found themselves underwater financially, unable to buy new equipment or even maintain existing machines. Across the Midwest, family farms that had survived for generations went under at auction, their equipment selling for pennies on the dollar to neighbors who were barely hanging on themselves. Manufacturers faced their own survival struggles as sales vanished and financing costs made inventory crippling. Production lines that had run 3 shifts suddenly went quiet. Dealerships that had been pillars of small-town economies closed their doors, leaving farmers without local support or parts availability. The entire agricultural economy was in freefall, and nobody knew where the bottom was. Massey Ferguson wasn't immune to these pressures. The company faced serious financial difficulties as the farm crisis deepened, struggling with debt, overcapacity, and markets that had dried up almost overnight. In 1978, Massey Ferguson was acquired by Conrad Black's Argus Corporation in a complex financial restructuring that barely kept the company operating. The early 80s brought more turbulence, layoffs that devastated manufacturing communities, plant closures that eliminated production capacity, and desperate cost-cutting that threatened the very identity farmers had trusted for generations. The Banner Lane plant in Coventry, England, once a symbol of Massey Ferguson's industrial might, saw employment drop by thousands. The Detroit diesel engine plant faced uncertain futures. Facilities across North America and Europe struggled to justify their existence when orders had nearly disappeared. Some wondered if Massey Ferguson would survive at all, if this legendary name would become just another casualty of agricultural economics and corporate miscalculation, joining the list of once great brands that couldn't weather the storm. Financial analysts wrote obituaries. Industry observers predicted a collapse. Competitors quietly prepared to divide Massey Ferguson's market share among themselves. But the machines themselves kept working. In fields across the world, red Massey Ferguson tractors continued pulling, plowing, and planting despite corporate chaos and financial uncertainty. Farmers who'd invested in MF equipment discovered that regardless of boardroom struggles, their tractors still started reliably, still pulled strongly, and still got work done when work needed doing. A 2895 didn't care about stock prices or debt restructuring. It cared about whether you maintained it properly and put decent fuel in the tank. The engineering excellence that had built Massey Ferguson's reputation wasn't erased by financial problems. Models like the MF 3900 series and MF 2700 series continued proving themselves in the toughest conditions, demonstrating that whatever happened in corporate offices, the iron in the field remained solid. The 3900 series, introduced in the early 80s despite financial turmoil, brought over 180 horsepower to farms through Perkins 5.8 engines that delivered the kind of pulling power large operations desperately needed. These tractors featured cab designs that rivaled truck comfort, hydraulic systems sophisticated enough to handle the most demanding implements, and build quality that showed Massey Ferguson's engineers still knew how to build machines that would last decades. Gradually, through painful restructuring, strategic decisions about which markets to serve and which to abandon, and sheer determination to honor commitments to farmers who'd remained loyal, Massey Ferguson stabilized. The company emerged leaner, more focused, and still committed to building tractors that farmers could depend on. By the late 80s, the worst had passed. Agriculture was recovering slowly. Land values were stabilizing and equipment sales were beginning to rebound. Massey Ferguson had survived when stronger-looking companies had failed. That survival wasn't luck or accident. It was the result of building tractors so well that farmers wouldn't abandon the brand, even when times were desperate, even when competitors offered financing deals that seemed too good to refuse, even when corporate headlines screamed uncertainty. Chapter 13. Renaissance and Technology. The 1990s marked a new beginning for agriculture, as technology transformed tractors into intelligent, adaptable machines. Massey Ferguson led this shift by combining its proven mechanical strength with electronic precision. New engine management systems automatically adjusted fuel and power based on real-time load, while computer-controlled transmissions offered dozens of seamless gear ratios for every job. Hydraulics became smarter too, remembering settings and adjusting automatically to implements. Models like the MF 6300 and MF 8200 series captured this balance between innovation and reliability. They paired robust Perkins and AGCO power engines with Datatronic monitoring systems that gave operators live data on fuel use, oil temperature, and performance. Cabs grew quieter, more comfortable, and climate-controlled, with ergonomic layouts and suspension seats that turned long days into manageable shifts. Comfort features once seen as luxuries, like stereo systems and air conditioning, became essential for productivity. Despite these advances, Massey Ferguson never lost sight of practicality. When early electronic components failed, mechanical backups kept the machines working. Farmers valued that blend of modern efficiency and old-fashioned dependability. The 6300 series delivered between 90 and 130 horsepower, offering excellent economy and power for mid-size farms, while Dyna 4 powershift transmissions allowed clutchless shifting that reduced fatigue and boosted field efficiency. Internationally, Massey Ferguson stayed committed to global markets, even as competitors pulled back. In Africa, Asia, and Latin America, the brand's reputation for durability under harsh conditions only strengthened. In 1994, its acquisition by AGCO Corporation brought vital investment and long-term stability. Crucially, AGCO preserved the Massey Ferguson identity, dealer network, and loyal customer base, ensuring that its red tractors entered the 21st century stronger, smarter, and unmistakably true to their heritage. Chapter 14: The Modern Era. In the 21st century, Massey Ferguson has continued evolving while honoring the legacy that began in 1847. Modern MF tractors like the 8700 series combine over 200 horsepower with emissions technology, GPS guidance, precision farming integration, and operator environments that rival luxury automobiles. Yet these machines still embody the philosophy Daniel Massey established over 170 years ago: build equipment farmers can depend on absolutely. The iconic red color remains instantly recognizable worldwide. The triangular Massey Ferguson badge carries weight and meaning across generations. Farmers still choose MF equipment because they trust the name, because their fathers and grandfathers trusted it, because that trust has been earned through decades of machines that work reliably in the harshest conditions. The technological sophistication of modern Massey Ferguson tractors would have seemed like pure fantasy to farmers from even 30 years ago. The MF 8700S series, introduced in the 2010s, brought power outputs exceeding 300 horsepower through advanced six-cylinder AGCO power engines, displacing over 450 cubic inches. These engines meet stringent Tier 4 emission standards using selective catalytic reduction, or SCR, and diesel exhaust fluid, or DEF, injection without sacrificing the torque and reliability farmers demand. The transmissions have evolved into continuously variable systems, or CVT, that provide infinite speed combinations within their operating range, letting operators maintain precise ground speeds regardless of load changes. A modern MF tractor can maintain exactly 5.3 miles per hour, whether pulling uphill through heavy soil or traveling downhill with light load, optimizing fuel efficiency and work quality simultaneously. GPS guidance systems can steer with accuracy measured in inches, reducing operator fatigue and ensuring perfect pass-to-pass spacing that eliminates gaps and overlaps. These systems integrate with implement controls, automatically adjusting seeding rates, fertilizer application, or sprayer output based on precise location and prescription maps created from yield data and soil analysis. Farmers can document every square foot of their operation, knowing exactly what was applied where and when, information that's increasingly essential for regulatory compliance and agronomic optimization. Telematics systems transmit real-time data from tractors to smartphones and computers, letting farmers and dealers monitor engine performance, fuel consumption, and maintenance needs remotely. When a potential problem is detected, dealers can often diagnose issues and order parts before the tractor returns to the yard, minimizing downtime and keeping operations running smoothly. This connectivity transforms maintenance from reactive crisis management to proactive prevention, saving money and frustration. The cabs of modern Massey Ferguson tractors represent pinnacles of operator comfort and functionality. Leather seats with multiple adjustment axes and active suspension systems isolate operators from vibration and impact. Touchscreen displays consolidate information from dozens of sensors and systems into intuitive interfaces that provide essential information without overwhelming complexity. Automatic climate control maintains perfect temperature. Premium sound systems provide entertainment during long days. LED lighting turns night into day, letting farmers work around the clock when weather windows demand maximum effort. These aren't luxuries for their own sake. They're recognition that comfortable operators work more efficiently, make better decisions, and can sustain productivity through grueling seasons that test human endurance. Massey Ferguson's global presence remains unmatched, with products sold in over 140 countries, manufacturing facilities on multiple continents, and dealer networks that provide support wherever farmers need it. The company has successfully navigated challenges that destroyed competitors, from agricultural depressions to technological revolutions, from corporate restructuring to global market shifts. Through everything, the commitment to farmers never wavered, never compromised, never forgotten that tractors exist to serve those who feed the world. From a blacksmith shop in Ontario to fields across 6 continents, Massey Ferguson's history is agriculture's history. What's your Massey Ferguson story? Drop it in the comments. Hit subscribe if you love agricultural history. And remember, some names in farming aren't just brands. They're legacies, built one reliable machine at a time.